Hi students, this is Miss Anna. We are at one of my favorite places in Chicago, the Lincoln Park Zoo.
But you may say, hey, Miss Anna, you're having a great time, but why are we at the Lincoln Park Zoo to talk about poetry?
Think of poetry as being like different animals at the zoo. Each poem has a different structure, skeleton, and form of moving, or gait. Poetry is made up of sound, rhythm, and meaning. So the first thing I want you to do when you encounter a new poem is read it aloud. To Cupid by Joanne Bale. Child, with many a childish wile, timid look and blushing smile, downy wings to steal thy way, gilded bow and quiver gay, who in thy simple mien would trace the tyrant of the human race. Who is he whose flinty heart hath not felt the flying dart? Who is he that from the wound hath not pain and pleasure found? Who is he that hath not shed curse and blessing on thy head? Look at the structure on the page. How are the stanzas laid out? Are they long? Short? Do we start with a few long ones and with a couple short ones? Here we have two big stanzas. Then I want you to note the rhyming scheme of the poem. In To Cupid, we have while, smile, way, gay, trace, race, heart, dart, wound, found, shed, head. All of these are direct rhymes. Sometimes you have slant rhymes where it's a kind of a twist on the sound. Wound and found, they're actually the same. Perhaps in her accent they would have been slant rhymes, I'm not sure. So anyway, we have an A, B, B, C, C, D, D structure. Then I want you to read the poem again. Poetry is made up of metrical feet, which are beats of rhythm. The most common rhythmical beat is the iamb. This is so boring. It's not supposed to be. The iamb is a heartbeat rhythm. It's da-da, 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 da-da. And that's actually the rhythm we live our lives to, right? Unless your heart is a little bit funky, and then you'll have a slightly different rhythm. So iambic, foot. That is a heartbeat. Trochee is, it's the other way around. It's stress and then unstress. So bump, 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 bump. Got a pretty messed up heart there. And that's a very common rhythm to find in children's rhymes, nursery rhymes. The anapest is like a gallop. It's to unstress. Bum, 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 bum. And it's supposed to have sort of a galloping feel to it. So it's sort of like your horses running out into the plain. A dactyl, it's like a waltz rhythm. It's bum, 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 bum. Those of you who are dancers will be like, oh, I know that rhythm. That is and actually musicians as well, because that would be a 3/4 rhythm. For those of you who aren't musicians and dancers who are like, what? Don't even worry about it. It's a waltz rhythm. Okay. Spondee. It's like a little, it's like a knock on the door. When you're trying to be polite to the person on the other side, you know, you really need to get in the bathroom, but you're still trying to be polite, so you have two firm knocks on the door. Spondee. Pyrrhic is to unstressed beats, so it might be. And I think of it as being kind of percussive, kind of like at the end of a jazz concert where there's that percussion guy in the back who has these two little drumsticks, and he just has these two little sounds at the very end of this jazz piece, you know. But actually, this one, the Pyrrhic foot has a story. It is based off of a Greek war dance, and certain poets like Edgar Allan Poe in the 1800s was like, that's not a foot, but it's often used to break up a larger scheme of rhythm. So one of the first things you'll do when you look at a poem is try to figure out what is its regular heartbeat. Bum bum or tap tap. If you can figure out what is regular for the poem, how many times, what is the prevailing foot, what is the prevailing rhythm, and how many beats of rhythm are on the page per line, that will tell you the species of poem you're looking at. A very common one is iambic pentameter. That's Shakespeare's best friend, and believe it or not, that's kind of our best friend in real life, because we do tend to stick to a heartbeat rhythm. It is the rhythm of our bodies. What was I saying? Oh yeah, measures of feet per line. There's, you'll catch on to this so quickly. There's monometer, so that's 1 foot per line. There's diameter, 2. Trimeter, 3. Tetrameter, 4. Pentameter, 5, so that, again, that's Shakespeare. Hexameter, 6. Heptameter, 7. Alright. And then there's free verse, which is just like, hey, you know what? I don't care about any of this. We're just going to throw all of that rhythm stuff out the window. And that's very popular today. Walt Whitman, bless his heart, was very fond of it as well. So let's quickly look at these different prevailing rhythms with actual examples of poetry. Alright, so for iambic, this is our heartbeat rhythm, which is Shakespeare's favorite rhythm. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Simple enough. Trochee, so this is the flip of the iamb. It is, I always have to remind myself, it is stressed, unstressed. Okay. So, double, double, toil and trouble, fire, burn, and cauldron, bubble. Example from Macbeth. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire, burn, and cauldron, bubble. If you read it aloud, just without the ticking, the clock sound, the rhythm, if you read it aloud, without the rhythm emphasized, what you have is a kind of menacing feel to the poetry. Anapest, which is the galloping rhythm. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house. So this is unstressed, unstressed, stressed. Bum, 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 bum. Okay. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house. There we go. Dactyl. This is our waltz rhythm. Stressed. Bum, 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 bum. Alright. Just for a handful of silver he left us. Just for a ribbon to stick in his coat. Just for... Okay. Just for a handful of silver he left us. Just for a ribbon to stick in his coat. The spondee, which is the knock knock, get out of the bathroom, knock knock, that naturally that's often just kind of spread throughout a line. It doesn't really have its own place in the world. Sometimes you'll find it at the beginning of a line to sort of catch your attention. And the Pyrrhic, which is the 2 little percussive sounds at the end of a jazz concert, has a nice little place in the world. Here we go. So this is from a poem by Tennyson. It's called In Memoriam. There we go. When the blood creeps and the nerves prick. When the... Oh my gosh, it really is. Okay. When the blood creeps and the nerves prick. So that's actually a combination of the spondee and the Pyrrhic. This leads us back to the poem where we started, to Cupid, by Joanne Bale. Child with many a childish wile, timid look and blushing smile. The first 2 lines are a little bit different. We've got child with many a childish wile, timid look and blushing smile. So look at what we've talked about so far. See if you can identify the prevailing foot, the prevailing rhythm. My best guess, and it doesn't really fit with a lot of the things we've talked about, I think it's a dactylian rhythm. and we've got 2 feet per line. But on the third line, so that would be a diameter, a dactylian diameter, right? Yeah, that's correct. All right. But then on the third line, things change. We have downy wings to steal thy way, gilded bow and quiver gay. So downy wings to steal thy way, gilded bow and quiver gay. Is that right? Gilded bow and quiver gay. I'm gonna rescan that. Okay. Downy wings to steal thy way, gilded bow and quiver gay. Alright, so what I'm getting is... well, I'm getting 2 trochees at the beginning of the line, and then a thy way, thy way. I guess way is stressed. Downy wings to steal thy way, gilded bow and quiver, 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 quiver gay, gilded bow and quiver gay. Okay, so we've got 3 feet per line, and we seem to have a trochee rhythm. So the prevailing foot would be a trochee, which is bum bum, gilded, gilded bow and quiver gay. We're ending on a strong beat most of the time, quiver gay, which continues throughout the poem. Who is he whose flinty heart hath not felt the flying dart? So our first 2 lines are kind of the weird ones. They're the ones that don't really fit the prevailing structure, rhythmic structure of the poem. So let's connect that to meaning for a minute. Child with many a childish wile, timid look and blushing smile. So that's sort of talking about a very weak figure. A child, timid look and blushing smile. Downy wings to steal thy way, gilded bow and quiver gay. Who in that simple mean would trace the tyrant of the human race? So we sort of have these 2 very different ideas. We have this child, this fat, chubby little child with a little bow and a blushing smile, timid look, downy wings, kind of really soft words. But then we start bringing in the real strength of this mythical figure, Cupid, who makes you fall in love. Who in that simple mean would trace the tyrant of the human race? Who is he whose flinty heart hath not felt the flying dart? Who is he that from the wound hath not pain and pleasure found? Who is he who hath not shed curse and blessing on thy head? So what I really want you to carry away from this, because at this point in your life you don't really need to be able to look at a poem and immediately know what the structure, the rhythm of it is. What I want you to carry away from this is poetry has rhythm. This also applies to essays. This applies to fiction. Pretty much anything we read has some kind of rhythm, and poetry can teach us a lot about the pure form of that rhythm and the effect it has on us as readers. But what I want you to listen for is listen for the rhythm, connect it to meaning. Does it have a strong rolling rhythm? Might be an anapest. How does that work with the meaning? Maybe the poem's about a storm. Voila! We can connect what we have learned to what the poem is actually about. Iambic pentameter, actually quite close to our regular speech. Sometimes when you say stuff like that, you can immediately tap it out and be like, voila, iambic pentameter. I'm not sure it works for what I just said. But the strength of iambic pentameter is that it is very close to how we actually speak. So when Shakespeare writes these lovely little sonnets, and we do read one of his sonnets this week, when he writes these lovely little sonnets in iambic pentameter, it is kind of like he's taking our regular speech and elevating it just a little bit. Alright guys, thank you for joining me. This has been Lincoln Park. Come visit someday. It's the best place in Chicago, I think, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.